Hey guys, Rust Quick Electric here today with a new video showcasing a feature that I've created now for a much larger project that I'm working on, but I felt that it would be useful to a number of people coming up with their own creations, and that is a timed wired sequence. Now, for many people on vanilla, this is not very relevant as it is a bit of a more complicated schematic in terms of why it's working and the understanding of electrical branches. Now, I did speak of coming out with a battery and power flow through video, but after beginning to learn how intricate it actually is, it is delayed as of right now because I don't want to misinform anybody. So a lot of research going on with that, and let's get right into the build. So for this build, we're just using a switch, 3 timers, 2 splitters, for convenience sake. Now, 6 branches, and the actual first tier of the sequence, you only need for the build the timer, the 2 branches, the output device, as well as the blocker. But I'm going to do a 3-tiered series right now just to showcase what it actually does, because with 1 or 2 it's not very apparent as to what the practical use is for it. So we're going to use 3 blockers and 3 simple lights as our triggerable device, just for simplicity's sake. Now, the use of the switch in this instance is simply for power control toggle. No other reason besides that. You could do it directly from the timer, but as with how I started and my roots, I am pretty much a firm believer in always having a kill switch, just due to the sake of use. So I'm going to have that. We're going to go ahead and wire up the power out of the splitter into this. I don't know why I just wired the generator into that. Wasn't paying attention. So the generator is going to come up into our splitter, just as a useful power basin. We're going to set up a second splitter here as well, just for more power output without having to worry about it. Now, this portion of the build can be done with splitters, but the actual schematic portion of the build must be done with branches due to the way that power cycle and power flow through works in Rust as of right now. So we'll have our first splitter power out, which is power out 3, going into the switch electric input. We're then going to move on right into a timer. Now, this is a critical portion in this build because the timer gives you the availability of setting a set increment for your sequence. It's not possibly done without it. You could use another component to do it, but you will not have any timed modification without using a timer. So the switch is just simply going to go up and through into the toggle on. And once again, I'm only having it do this just for sake of having a kill switch. You could just activate directly from the timer, but for the sake of the way I do things, that's what I will be using. Now we're moving into our 2 branches. The reason the splitter doesn't work is because of the way that power flow through works currently. It splits it equally between the 3, whereas this gives you a configurable amount of power that can flow through. And then we're going to finish off with a simple light at the top, just to showcase what it actually does. So as far as the wiring goes for this build, we're going to have another splitter, power out 2, come up into the timer. We're going to have our timer output go into our first electrical branch. Let's see if we can get this a little bit further away. Try and keep the wiring somewhat organized, which, having helped a bunch of people now, I have come to find that the easiest way to diagnose a problem with any wiring is by having visible wiring. Having to go up and look at each independent output and input is very time consuming and very inefficient. So either having a nice clean schematic or having clean wiring makes it a godsend when trying to deal with technical problems with the wiring. So this is where it gets a little bit specific. So you want the branch out portion of your first electrical branch to be going into the input, the power in of your second branch. Now you need your power out to go up into the power in of whatever your triggerable event is. And then these other 2 ports will be going on to the rest of the build, which includes the blocker. Now the blocker is required in order to essentially form the sequence. So the first power out of this first branch will be going to the block pass-through function of the blocker. So we'll have this come right on down into there. And then the branch out of the second electrical branch will be going to the power in, or the pass-through, of the branch itself. Let me redo that wire. Ended up getting a little offset. So once again, we have the branch out of the second branch going to the power in of the blocker. Now, with this wiring, you're going to have to configure these to 2 on the left branch and 4 on the right branch, or else this will not work. Those are the absolute minimums that you can have for this build. Now, in terms of continuing the sequence, we are going to have the exact same setup, which is the timer going into the 2 electrical branches, like so. We'll just try and keep everything in the same line. And we'll have the simple light again. And I'm just going to go ahead and add the third function as well. Just put the components down while we can. We will have the blocker, followed up by the timer, followed up by the 2 branches, and the simple light, like so. Now, the third blocker here is to show you the example of a continuation of the sequence. So going back through to the wiring, the timers are simply being powered through these splitters as of right now. That could be any power source you have, but for ease of convenience, I've simply done it through the splitters, just to make life easier. As this build is most likely going to be done on a creative or modded server, it's not unrealistic to think that generators and splitters can be used as your initial power bank. So we're going to have the continuation of this build where the power out of the blocker is going to move into the toggle on, whereas we had the switch to start this initially, or the timer itself. The blockers will be used to continue the sequence onwards and continue the next tier cycle of the timers. So this will come across and into here. The timer is already powered. We will have the timer output going into our right branch, as done previously. The branch out of the first branch will be coming down to the power in of the second branch. The power out of the second branch goes up into the simple light, or whatever your triggerable event is. The branch of the second will go into power the blocker. And then the actual power out of the first electrical branch will be coming down into the block pass-through. Let's try and get that a bit neater. So this is the full circuit, and you once again want to make sure that your left branch is set to 2 and your right branch is set to 4. We can go ahead and configure these 2 as well. And then we can continue on the wiring. Once again, continuing the exact same. This will go from the output of the blocker, the power out, into the toggle on. The timer output will go into the right branch, or the first branch. The branch out will come up, down, through, across, into the second branch. The power out will go directly into the simple light. The branch out will come across and power the next blocker in the sequence. And the power out of the first will come down into the block pass-through. Now, I'm leaving this open-ended to show it as a continuation of the possible sequence. So when we go ahead and trigger this first one, the timers are going to be set to the longer initial timing until it's run through its first cycle, but as shown in the schematic that I've linked in the description, you can adjust that immediately after it's run its first sequence, and you'll see that immediately following, it will send a same impact power to the blocker, which will send a signal continuing onto the next timer, allowing you to sequence along a string of events through the power out of the branch. Now, the branches may need to be adjusted depending on what you're powering out there, but that can all be done with the configurable setting of the branch. For this specific example, I've set it to 2 and 4 for simple lights, which in a video performed in the future, you will see. Now, I'm going to adjust these to show you that you can alter the difference in sequence. So we're going to do a 1 second, we're going to do a 3 second, and then we will do a 2 second. Now you'll see, when I re-trigger this, 1 second, 3 second, 2 second. These can all be customized and used to your liking. Now we'll do one more test with these edited again. We'll do 2 seconds, 1 second, and 2 seconds. We'll reset the switch. Here we go. Just like so. And then, as I said, you can continue this cycle through the power out of the blocker, and you will always be using the second branch power out as your configurable item to be sequenced. Alright everybody, as with any video, I welcome you to join the Discord that is linked in the description, and I thank you guys for the continued support. Thanks.